And we're right on time. How do you like them apples?
What up, ladies and gentlemen? Man, I had the opportunity to be a guest on Jeff's show. One big tip.
What?
Now he gets to be a guest on our show. So let's find out what Jeff is all about.
Whoop, whoop.
Shut up and sit down.
The Business Bros Podcast was created for you. Learn from the business professionals who come to share their stories. Find out what's working in business and social media, what's hot and what's not, straight from the mouths of successful entrepreneurs out there doing the real work. And now, welcome to another episode of
Business Bros.
I love it.
Here we go.
We're on time.
We're
We're right. We're synced right up. I love it.
Him.
It is that
Drop
time.
some fire.
We're dropping the fire. Here we go. It's that time for yet another fun-filled Business Bros podcast. And today we have a guest whose passion is in helping you achieve your highest level of awesomeness in business. As a data-driven social media and internet marketing strategist, our guest creates digital marketing for humans. You know you're getting a genuine personal touch when you work with him and his rockstar team. Together, you and our guest can help your business craft an engaging social presence, generate leads, and convert those leads into top-line revenue and sales. With over 10 years experience and a history of delivering greatness for companies among a myriad of niches, our guest brings a change in mindset from other marketing pros. Instead of just saying, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, our guest challenges you and asks, but have you thought about this? We're excited to have on the show today someone who understands that reaching your audience isn't enough. You must inspire them. So here to inspire us today from the aptly named Jeff Mendelson, digital marketing firm, welcome to the show, Jeff Mendelson!
Jeff, welcome to the program, man.
What an amazing intro, guys. Thank you so much for that.
We love dropping the fire every once in a while. Jeff, dude, I just want to say I had a great time on your show talking about the one thing. There's always one thing. James and I talk about it all the time. You can use this in your professional life on a day-to-day basis, in your personal life on a day-to-day basis. Having that one thing that you can accomplish on a regular basis, if you stick to at least getting that one thing done, you're going to jump ahead light years, whereas procrastination will set in. And I had a blast talking to you about podcasting on your show. I am now curious. Let's continue that conversation. Let's move into the whole podcasting space. I mean, you've now been on my show for almost 3 minutes, and we do it live. What's your take so far on live podcasting versus, pre-recorded?
Doing it live scares the shit out of me. So let's just start with that. When I started this, first of all, everything had to be perfect. I had to have the perfect mic, and I had to do it in the perfect space, and I had to do it in the perfect everything. And I bought every toy. Checked it out. I bought that thing. And then I'm like, I just can't. I set up the camera on a tripod, and I couldn't get 2 sentences out edgewise. I'm like, no, this isn't going to work. And I spent days and weeks just trying to okay, what's my mental block? What's my, why can't I do this? And you know what was interesting? I was at a WeWork, and I took over a conference room, and I just had the thing up, and I'm just trying to deliver 5 minutes worth of stuff. And it just came out so awkward, and so amateur. And I'm just like, oh, the hell with this. Right. Then my phone rang. Right. And it turned out to be a sales call. Right. So I'm sitting there, talking on the phone. That was actually the most interesting 20 minutes of the
entire recording.
Right? Because I just couldn't get anything done. And I'm like, something, I just can't do this alone, right? Or, yeah, I still feel like, okay, I need to be speaking with somebody. So then I'm like, okay, I'm going to pivot, and I'm going to turn this into an interview show, right? And once I did that, that's when the clouds parted, and everyone was like, okay, now I can do this, because talking to someone else, I don't have a speech impediment that bad, right? I don't have it. So, I can carry a conversation. Why don't I just talk to interesting people? And that became the basis. And I'm like, okay, great. Now that I'm able to do this, how long should the show be? What kind of format? Because, format's important. And what I came up with was I wanted a short format, 10 to 15 minute podcast where I would interview one person at a time and ask them for their one big tip. And that's that one thing that they use in their business, whether it's an app or an idea or a process to make their business function. Right. And what's cool about that is that it's not a big time commitment for other people. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, it's super focused, because a lot of podcasts these days, they tend to go half an hour, 45 minutes, even an hour. They turn into these interview fests, and, it's kind of hard to stay with it, for 45 minutes on the one program, right? You listen to a song is 2 to 4 minutes long. You listen to, just something a little, if someone's interviewing you and you're just, next thing you know, you're going to talk about their dog and, what their life was like before they got into digital marketing and things like that. And I just didn't want to be that guy.
You're trying to
just fill in the time.
Yeah.
And I just didn't want to do that. So once I got to the 10, 15 minute mark, I'm like, okay, intros, what's your one big tip? How can people reach you? And it's great.
It's straightforward chunks of information. And it's funny because I took the opposite approach, right? So our show is roughly about 30 minutes, right? And I do want to get to know what you do professionally, but I also want to get to know you, the individual. Because for me, it's always been one of those things where I do business with people I know, like, and trust. And so if I'm getting somebody on my show to talk about their business, I don't want it always to be 100% commercial. I want you to know who this person is that you're going to be talking to. So sometimes, what's the name of the teddy bear in the background, or what's the name of the dog that you have, and getting some of those personal bits and pieces of information will connect with the audience in a little bit of a different way. And I agree with you. When we first started, when we got into this, James and I would outline our shows, and we would have like key points that we wanted to discuss. And luckily I had him to bounce information off of, because I'm the same way. At the very beginning, sitting in front of a mic with the camera looking at you, it's one of the most awkward feelings. And it's not like you don't know stuff. You've been in the business, you said, over 10 years. So it's not like you didn't know things. It's just, now you want me to talk to this, inanimate object with a big glass screen looking at me. That's exactly kind of weird.
Yeah. And it's, just getting over yourself is probably the hardest mental block you're ever going to get over, because I think everyone is just so self-critical. I hate listening to my own voice. I hate looking at myself, like on the screen. Maybe I'll post a nice selfie that my kids took of me or whatever. All right, great. Yeah, I'll let that pass. But, it's, just to ourselves, we can be the most self-critical, beings around. And I think once you get past that, and once you realize, like, look, I still have something important or interesting to say, then it helps. And bouncing off of the energy of other people who also know a lot of great stuff, that's just interesting, because now I'm learning so much more, it's really broadening my horizons. I mean, you were the one that told me about StreamYard, right? And I'm looking at it like, wow, this is an amazing recording. It's amazing quality, much better than Zoom, much better than all the other stuff that I'm looking at. And it's like, why am I not doing this? Well, I just haven't gotten up to doing lives yet. But that's more of a function of, the HR issues that I'm going through right now and things like that. Eventually, what I'd like to do is, I have all of these podcasts recorded, but why can't I be getting on a live, once a week, twice a week, or every day like you guys do? It's like, it's all there. The barrier of entry, I already have all the toys. So, might as well get it done.
Yeah, but I agree with you. The comfort is part of the issue. When James and I, again, when we first started, we didn't have a video component of our show for about 90 episodes or so. It was purely audio. It was pre-recorded. And we didn't even do interviews until about 90. We had like 1 or 2 interviews in the first 90 episodes, but it was really just us talking about what we're doing in our business and how can we grow our particular, company, and what worked, what didn't work, that sort of stuff. And once we switched over to a video platform, we at least had 90 episodes under our belt where we're used to listening to our own voice, where we would spend a few episodes with like a glass jar and like dropping quarters in there to correct our ums and ends and filler words. So we spent a good amount of time getting used to ourselves, I guess. And then when we did add video, it was a little bit easier. And then when we did add live, it was a little bit easier. So yeah, I can understand that hesitation on going in that whole live space, or even transitioning platforms. So I mean, tell me, you've done a couple different platforms, and every time you switch, it's not easy. In you know, in the sense, maybe technology wise it's easy, but in your own custom way of doing things, that's gotta be a little bit difficult, right?
It's actually, that part is the easier part. The first thing I went to was Zoom, and Zoom, everyone knows it. It's like the industry standard. Everyone knows what's going on with that. And it did work out great for the first 20, 30 episodes. But then what happened was, the coronavirus thing hit, and then the whole world gets on Zoom, right? And then the software started failing on me, right? It used to record 2 tracks at the same time. Now it doesn't. For some, maybe it does for other people, but for me, it doesn't. Sometimes it would save it on my hard drive. Other times it would upload it to the cloud. My audio guy hated it. He was just like, no, there are all these bleeps and noises that you can't edit out. So I switched over to Squadcast. Squadcast is really cool because in the browser it records my audio locally to me and your audio locally to you. So it alleviates all of that digital stuttering, that latency and all that, and you get 2 clean recordings that are perfectly synced. It comes out to be a much better episode. So the change there wasn't so bad. I mean, I was already used to, getting people scheduled and getting them on the show. But it just became a question of, okay, how can I make sure that I'm getting the cleanest type of recording possible, right? We all live in we live in the United States. Most of us have great internet, but that's not always the case. It's like sometimes, you have bad internet days, just like everybody, and that's, those are just things that you need to deal with.
All right. So that's the technology side of it. What about the getting people side of it? Like when James and I started, it wasn't, we didn't know how to do it essentially. So what I did was I took notes from like the Icebox or the Ice Water Challenge, right? So at the end of the show, I would literally ask a guest, hey, who do you think would be a good guest to have on the show? And they would, since it was live, they would tag somebody and they'd be like, oh, that person's in. Now the pressure's on because you were tagged on a live feed that you're next. And that helped us, start to get the growth of getting people on the show. What's been your experience like getting guests initially, and then now how are you doing it going forward?
So, it's funny, when I first started this out, it was going to be a weekly podcast, right? And I'm like, how the hell am I going to get 4 people a month to talk to me? Right. And I'm just, bro. Right. So, like for the first thing you dip into are, your friends, right? So, the friends and family, you get them up there, and maybe you put out a call on a Facebook group, and, cut your teeth with that. Cut your teeth with people that people that are, are already your fans, right? Then I started branching out into some podcast directories. There's podcast guests, matchmaker.fm. There's Kitcaster has one. And, each of those has a different type of play. But what happens is that, it really just came down to, hey, would you like to be on my show? Right. I found it easier than, say, looking for a job, because, like when you send out 50 resumes and no one answers you back, you start like, oh, geez, that ain't going to work. But, when I put out 20, requests, hey, I'd like to have you on the show. I'm just starting out. Here's a link, et cetera, et cetera. I'd say about 5 to 7 people answered back. And it's like, okay. Now I can, people are generally agreeable. Like they want to get on your show. They want to, they want to talk to you. And I think if you're just open and honest, like I didn't tell anybody, oh, by the way, this show's going to get 5 downloads. Right. Yeah. So, you don't spill too much of the information, but at the same time, it's like, listen, it really is an organic effect. Whatever small community I had at the time, I'm going to put it out there, and somebody's going to see it. And
60% of the time, it works every time.
Exactly. Right. So what happens is, it just grows, right? Because, then they put it out on their thing, they're excited, like, hey, I was on Jeff Mendelson's podcast, and it doesn't matter whether I had, like 5 or 10 downloads. The fact that they got out there and they like, yeah, I'm a podcast guest. People want to say that. People also want to say I'm a podcast host. Why?
Whoops.
Right. Yeah. So, a lot of those, so what happens is that it just builds. And I got on a directory that sent out an email saying, hey, we got this great new guy. And they ended up sending over like about 50 or 75 people that wanted to be on the show, just from that email.
And you're like, now I'm swamped.
What? Yeah. And that was a problem because, it's the one big tip. I want to know what your one big tip is before you actually come on the show. Right. So now I had to go through some kind of vetting process. Right. So I quickly created another login form, another form just to collect their information, their name, their email, and, what's your one big tip, and let's talk about it. Right. And the ones that were able to articulate, like, yeah, I want to tell people that, about this great technique I use for time management. Okay, great. You're on the show. The ones that come out and, the life coachy people like, oh, you just got to manifest yourself. No, that's not a one big tip, so it's like, you gotta kind of pick and choose. But once I put that system in place, it made things a lot easier for me to, to actually vet these people. And it's not a hard vetting process. It's just, I just want to know what you're going to talk about before you actually get on the show. Right?
Yeah. And how's your experience been as far as, the people that you meet, that you do get on the show? How has it been for your exposure and your brand and your marketing as far as getting people to work with you?
I find that it's, it definitely elevates, the Jeff Mendelson brand, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't, I'm not going to lie. It's I don't have Google or someone like that breaking down my door, but at the end of the day, where you can confidently say, like, here, I have this body of knowledge, that you can go and take a look at. It's an added swagger, that you can talk about. And what this podcast is for me is that it's not going to replace it's not going to replace my day job. I'm not going to be like a John Lee Dumas who's doing this full time, or maybe I am, maybe it might just take off after the 100th or 200th episode, who knows. Right. But my play with this is that I just want to get this out there and use it as a basis for the next big step, whether that's, creating some kind of course or, creating a mastermind, something like that.
It's funny because I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, if anything, this has become one of the best prospecting tools I have ever come across. I get to talk to somebody new every single day. I get to, what does Jeff say? What would you say is the best directory to sign up to do podcasts? So to get guests, I'm assuming.
So the one that put me out in their email was podcastguests.com. And you got to pay for that. But, the guys there were really nice. And they're like, hey, Jeff, we want to feature you. But the short answer is get on all of them. Right. Yeah. It's like, it can't hurt. Like some of these directories, have like 20, 25 podcast guests on it. All right. It's like, it can't hurt as long as you're not paying for it. But that's really what you need to do is just get on there and, just offer. What it is that you're offering your knowledge, you're offering your expertise, and that's infectious. People want to hear about that, and people want to give it as well. So that's the real important thing.
Yeah. And like I was saying, it's become one of the best prospecting tools out there, period. When I got onto Matchmaker FM, that was to me one of the easiest platforms to use. I literally have it on, like it's just always on. And I have to go through I have to make sure I sign on every once in a while to check the messages that are on there. But I mean, if I was doing a show once a week, I would have zero problems getting a guest for every single week, just using that platform. I get, 3 or 4 almost every other day. And so, we book out our show 8 weeks in advance, but there's been no other way that I've come across that has made it so easy for me to talk to somebody new on a regular basis, I've become a better speaker. I am much more confident. I have really narrowed down on my focus and my messaging, on top of being able to talk to more people. Like all those things, none of those really have any monetary benefit from, but I can take all those skills and I can transfer them over to what I am doing on a regular basis, whether it's standing in front of a classroom and talking to kids, whether it's, selling real estate, whether it's, helping on the insurance industry, whether it's coaching other people to build their podcast. Like all those things have come from sitting here and talking to people every single day. And I know I've gotten a lot smarter just because of all the people that I've been able to learn from on a daily basis.
That's so true because, like I've spoken to CEOs, venture capitalists, angel investors, things like that. And, it hits me just about every time. How would I ever have met this person otherwise? Maybe I would have bumped into him at a show, but I wouldn't, bumping into him at a shopping mall or something. Like, no, these are just regular people. One other thing I wanted to add to this whole thing is that there's a whole cottage industry now of podcast agents, right? These are people who will their job is to talk to people like me to try to get, their clients on the show. Some of these people are paying $500 a month, $800 a month, $1,000 a month in order to get on these shows, right? And what happened was now I got on, I don't even know how the hell I got on them, but these people are like, oh yeah, Jeff's got this show, let's hit it. We have a pretty good acceptance rate with Jeff, right? So now I'm getting like all of their people, right? They're always sending it over. So I ended up having to set up another form, right? So I'm like, all right, great. I took their logo, I put it up on a specific page. I'm like, all right, just direct everybody to this form, right? And then I'll vet I'll vet them. And that so far has worked out great. It's gotten to the point where now I'm starting to feel confident that I can actually charge for people to come on the show. Like what's happening right now. I had such an influx of podcast guests that I didn't want to turn this into a daily show or a twice a day show, right? I mean, this takes a lot of work to write the blog post, to write the social for it, to edit the recordings. Like I didn't want to blow $2,000 right now to just edit, 100 recordings. So I kept to my schedule twice a week, right? But now I have content that's not going to air if I just stay with the current schedule and not take on not one new person. I have content through February, right? And that's just, dude, February, it's next freaking year, right? But then, as I'm getting people on the show and I'm telling them that, you can almost see their faces like, oh, geez, really? Like you're getting me on the show and it's not going to air for 7 months. Like, what the hell? So I'm like, all right, brother, listen. How about if you pay, like $300, $500 to jump to the front of the line? If you have something imminent, you have some kind of book launch or whatever, boom. All of a sudden,
it's amazing how it works, right?
It's amazing how it works because think about it this way. This is the actual cool part. If you dip into the psychology here, they paid a podcast agent, $800, $1,000 a month to get them on the podcast. So that's how hungry they are to get their voices heard. Right now, if they have an evergreen message and it doesn't matter when it actually drops, fine. Okay, then it'll air when it airs and, everyone's happy. But if you have a book launch or you have a launch or whatever it is, every little bit of SEO juice, of social juice that you can put out there works. I don't think I'm charging an arm and a leg, right? I'm just charging, like a little bit for my time, but all of a sudden this became a profit center. Yep. And that's where everything just opened up.
And it's funny because once you've started doing it and you've fine-tuned your processes, whether it's, open up a new form or how you vet them or how you start to edit your shows or when you do your sequences, all those things, like as an entrepreneur, you start thinking about those things in your mind and you create a game plan like you just did where the money can roll in. James and I are about to launch probably in the next week or so, an insurance bro podcast, and it's going to be called The Carrier Experience, and we're doing the same type of thing. This is a direct monetization play on a podcast because we know how the system works. Now we've really fine-tuned who we're going after. We know who our demographic is. It's very niche in the type of show that it's going to be, but it's going to create something that'll bring value to a lot of people in our insurance industry, to the insurance carriers in our industry, and it's worth paying for. And that's one of those things where, you know, like you said, you already know that people are already spending the money. They already want this kind of exposure, and we're putting them in a position where they can do that. And speaking of the carrier experience,
Whoops, gotta hit that unmute button. And speaking of tips, right? Ham's insurance tip of the day. We're going to talk really quickly about uninsured motorist. Thanks for the tip, Hernan, by the way. Uninsured motorist is a particular piece of coverage so important in your auto insurance that if you decline it, the state actually requires you to sign a disclosure. So UMBI for bodily injury, UMPD for property damage. It protects you, your passengers, and your vehicle in case someone else is at fault in an accident, but either they don't have insurance at all or they don't have enough. Here's the thing. People often decline uninsured motorist coverage just to save a few bucks, all right? But saving a few up front could cost you a lot more on the back end. Statistics show that approximately 15% of drivers in California don't carry insurance. So even though it's required by law, there's still plenty of people on the road without it. Worse yet, our state minimums, right? You're required to at least have the state minimums, but those haven't even been updated since the 70s. The minimum coverage for property damage is just $5,000. So if that person gets in an accident with you and they only have $5,000 in coverage for your property, you're out of pocket for the rest. All right. That is pretty much it, actually. If you have any questions or need any help, give Pipeline Insurance a call at 877-928-9994 and follow me on Twitter at InsuranceBroHam.
all right, Jeff,
I guess I didn't quite close that out as well as I would have wanted to.
You usually do.
Yeah.
It's all right. Hang out here for a second because we're going to do 2 truths and a lie. You ready, Jeff, to have some fun?
Fun time.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, 2 truths and a lie. Simple rules. You're going to tell us 3 things, Jeff. 2 of them are going to be true. 1 will be a lie. James and I always have our little competition to see if we can guess your lie. So go for it.
Guess my lie. All right. Jeez, this is really putting me on the spot. All right. Yeah, and it's live, so people
Right,
are watching.
yeah,
Like,
no pressure,
Jeff,
no pressure.
Jeff. All right. 2 truths and a lie. I got straight F's in high school. I have a master's degree in business management, and I speak 3.5 languages.
How do you speak half a language? All right, let's go. So let's see, straight F's.
Mm-hmm.
That was me,
Somehow,
by the way.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
James. Yeah.
That was
Somehow
literally
turned
me.
into a master's in business management,
Mm-hmm.
right? And 3.5 languages.
I think when I was researching Jeff today, I saw that he does have an MBA. So I'm going to say that one's for sure true.
That one's for sure true. All right, cool. 3.5 languages. That sounds like a very specific number. I feel like half a language has to be something like HTML or something weird like that.
Or sarcasm.
Or sarcasm.
Yeah. Or BS. Yeah. BS.
So we're going the straight F's. That's the lie.
I gotta go with straight F's. Has got to be a lie.
Straight F's is it's almost a lie in that there was one time in high school, there was one semester in high school, I got out of 5 classes, I got 3 F's. So
wow.
So I still have that.
impressive.
I still have that report card. I showed it to my kids, and I'm like, oh, by the way, look how bad you can F up, and still make something of yourself. So hopefully that's a little.
So you should have kept yours, James. That one, his was literally all F's except one class he had an A in.
5 F's and a B.
5 F's and a B.
and
There
a
you
B.
go.
5
And it
F's
wasn't
and a
even
B.
PE. It was physical science.
I failed PE.
Failed PE, man.
I just refused to, suit up. But here's the thing, right? Here's the science teacher, the physical science teacher. Hernan actually knows him now, and they're colleagues. And he he got my attention early on in class when he took a piece of sodium about that big and dropped it in water and everything blew up. And I was like, yep, I'm definitely paying attention in this class.
all the fun stuff.
All the fun
Jeff.
stuff.
Business. So you got an MBA, and you've been in business for over 10 years. So I'm going to ask you for. So we gotten to know you. You got the One Big Tip podcast. You've been in business over 10 years. You got that MBA. What advice would you give to young entrepreneurs?
Young entrepreneurs. So my stepdaughter now, she just started this company, or actually this process. She's very artistically gifted. And what she did is that she created like this art box that it's a subscription model that for like $10, $15 a month, whatever it is, she'll send you all the materials for you to create the art. It's called ArtP, as art therapy, right? And what's interesting is that she didn't really know a lot about business itself. She didn't really know like how it would take off or how it would, or how it would work. But just today, she got a business development consultant at Dior, the Christian Dior, reached out to her to create a bunch of these boxes to do a tie-in that they were going to be doing with some influencers. Now,
that's
right?
Impressive.
So 9 years old. She started this 2 months ago. She's already got I think 1,000 followers on Instagram, and she's just cranking out videos and she's just cranking out all this stuff. Doesn't know much about business, right? Business is just not her thing, but put some color and something arty in front of her, and she's just gonna slay it. So my advice would be, there is, everyone has that spark inside of them, right? The tools that we have available today, right? And by tools, I mean, like this little device right here. Everybody has a platform, right? Mm-hmm. All you need to do is just get out there and record it, put it on TikTok, put it on Snapchat, put it on Instagram, whatever it is. As long as you have a clearer vision or some kind of clear product of something that you're going to, something that you want to sell, somebody is going to buy it, right? But you got to be able to put it out there. You got to be able to articulate it. So my one big tip for young entrepreneurs would be, you already have the platform and this amazing 4K recording device in the palm of your hand. Please use it.
Be a content creator. Be a content creator. Consumer, okay. Creation, much more valuable.
What's that line? It's like you have all the information in the world in the palm of your hand, and you use it to look at cat videos.
Right? Or take pictures of your food. It's like,
take pictures of your food, yeah. And thanks for making our mouth water after that. It looks great, but I didn't get to bite it. All right, last little segment here. Jeff, you have a podcast. You've been a guest on a couple other podcasts. Now you've been a guest on the Business Bros Show. What was your experience like being on the podcast?
Being on the podcast. So I think it's fun. I think that it's, again, it's informative. It's something that we naturally talk to people anyways, right? It's, I think there was this TED Talk. I forgot the exact title, but basically the premise was that, if you can talk, you can sell, right? Mm-hmm. And we're always selling, right? You're selling when you want to pick up a girl in a bar. You're selling when you want to, when you ask for a discount at a store that you go to. You're always selling, right? So, use your abilities, to try to be convincing. You don't need to be sleazy about it. You don't need to be don't need to deal someone down to get something below its cost, whatever it is. But what you do need to do is just, be a good person and be authentic and, just put it out there. People will respond to it.
100%. How'd you feel going live?
Well, you guys make it look easy. So
you did a good job today. You did a good job. I know you were a little nervous about the whole live thing, but you did a great job. Jeff, thank you again for coming on the program. Ladies and gents, make sure you follow Jeff. You can follow him on Instagram. You can go out to his website, get some more information about what Jeff is up to. Tune into his podcast, One Big Tip. And again, they're little bite-sized chunks of information, other entrepreneurs telling you what's working for them. And why wouldn't you want to know what's working? That's what's going to lead you to success. So Jeff, thank you again for being a guest on our podcast. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
You got it, guys. Thank you so much. It's been
Ladies and gents, that's all we got for you guys today. Peace.
Bye-bye.
And we're out.
Thank you for listening to the Business Bros Podcast. Are you looking to get more clients or to increase your income? Hernan, the business bro, can help you generate referrals through the power of podcasting. And James, the insurance bro with Pipeline Insurance, can help you effectively add insurance to your existing business. If you are ready to create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow, email businessbros@csfirst.com to schedule a free consultation or join the Business Bros Network, www.businessbros.biz.